So, be a little discreet, indiscreet with you guys. I've got to say, between you, me, and the 400 people who listen every day, I had a threesome last night. Obviously, there were 2 no-shows, but I had a great time. I used to be the computer programmer for an autocorrect company until I got fired for no reason.
Oh.
And I was driving down the street yesterday and I saw a sign, "Watch for children." All in all, it was a good trade.
Do you know what, right? Last night I let a boxer make love to me.
Yeah.
And Ree stood there watching and said, you treat that dog far too well.
Woof. Mm. Yeah. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome to the Black Dog version 2, 144. I'm Lee.
I'm Darren.
I'm Jim.
And we don't have Elton. No, he has do a runner because he's got work and shit to do.
Yeah.
Like an important person. So he's not around today. Rumor has it we broke him with the last couple of films, so he's just decided he's had enough. Really, if I'm honest, if we're reading between the lines,
yeah,
space mutiny, space mutiny, and Indiana Jones double whammy. He's just hiding He's hiding under a bridge somewhere, just rocking backwards and forwards, singing "Sound of Silence" by Disturbed. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Anyway, hopefully he'll be back once he gets the therapy he needs, and yeah, we'll all be back to full strength next week. So, yes, this week we will see how everyone's week's been, except Elton, obviously, and then we'll see if there's any feedback for last week's episode, which was the ridiculously awful Dial of Destiny, and then we will move on to this week's movie, which was your second pick, Dal.
Yes, it was.
Which was?
Last Night in Soho.
Exactly. Both a film and a description of what was going on yesterday in my...
Yeah. That was that was well timed.
Exactly.
Well timed to pick.
Exactly. We don't just throw
How
this
was
together.
your week and the movie?
Yeah, exactly. We don't just throw this shit together. Yeah, actually, we plan it. Honest Gov. Anyway,
It's not so much thrown, is it? It's more like launched from a trebuchet, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's not so much thrown as more sort of just ineffectually dumped.
And that is the second time this week that I've used that word.
Trebuchet.
Yes.
How did you pronounce it though?
Trebuchet.
You didn't say that to start with,
Didn't I?
You went trebuchet or something like that.
Trebuchet. I did a Matt Berry impression. Trebuchet.
I'm going to be in that there Star Wars movie.
You say trebuchet,
Boba
I say
Fett.
Trey Bucket.
Yeah, Trey Bukash. So anyway, let's move away before it turns into a whole heap of Matt Berry nonsense, and see how everyone's week's been. So we'll start with you, Jim, because obviously you've been away for a little bit.
Yes.
How's it been?
It's been very good. We did very well. We for a change, things went well.
Nice.
We had our little dog booked in to get a clipping just before the heat wave kicked in, and then we were booked to go away. So we actually had good weather.
Nice.
And we went to the lovely Marske by the Sea.
Marske by the Sea.
Yes. Which is kind of a lovely little kind of coastal sort of town in the northeast. It's only like half an hour away, which is always a good. Which we do like, kind of, if you're going to go away somewhere, so it's a short drive home again.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a lovely little town. We had a nice little Airbnb house, had everything you wanted, just literally 3 minutes from the coast, and nice walks up and down. And it's quite nice because it's you have got all the fun of sort of a beach and being by the sea, but not it's not a seaside town.
Oh, right.
If you want that, you go further. You can go either north or south to Saltburn and Redcar, which are how you imagine rundown northern seaside towns are, full of tat shops, tattoo parlours, men without shirts, in any weather.
Right.
And drug addicts.
You sure you didn't just come in? You didn't just arrive in Bromley by accident?
Was that the original name
probably by the
of Men
sea.
Without Hats, do you think? Men Without Shirts.
Men without shirts. Yeah, probably.
Men without hats and too many tats.
Oh God.
But yeah, so you basically you have the fun of actually being on the coast, but without none of the usual detractions that the coast attracts.
Mm.
And so literally you're 5 minutes one way, you're at the coast, and lovely, huge, long beach to walk down. Not many people there, lots of them, lovely. There's a way, a nice sort of 1930s pub, sort of mock Tudor, all oak beams, which constantly just had a tape loop playing classic rock from the 70s and the 80s, and served very good food, very cheap. So we were very happy. So yeah, we had a lovely time away, and just came home just in time for torrential rain and our street nearly flooding.
Nice.
But
right. And
so yes, but a good time was had by all.
And are you up to your? Are you still up to your knees in water? Is it cleared?
Oh no, it cleared fairly quickly. But literally, we got 500 gallons of water in the space of about 3 minutes on Sunday, which the drains couldn't cope, and literally the street turned into a canal.
Oh God!
And that does happen when you get a lot of rain suddenly. And this day it did get to the front doorstep, but as my house has 3 steps up, I wasn't too bothered because you'd have to rain like 5 times as much to get any chance of getting into my house. But it was kind of like, shit, that's the highest I've ever seen that now.
Oh Christ!
Yeah, I'm watching people's like fucking Brexiters probably all driving through, going, I'm not fucking slowing down because the street's flooded. You know, carry on, watch your engine get flooded, dickhead.
Yeah,
I'll come out and carjack you when you do.
Yeah.
He slipped and hit his head.
Yeah, he just
Nothing to do with that crowbar.
He just disappeared
It
below
was a
the
mercy
waves.
killing. He's too thick to live.
Yeah. He just went in with his 4x4 and just disappeared. The car came out the other end of the pond, but he wasn't in it. God knows.
It's a mystery.
It's a complete mystery.
Where's he gone? I don't know. Right. So, overall, a nice time had by all.
Yes, yeah, it was very good. In fact, we're probably going to go back there for Teresa's birthday. Because we enjoyed it that much, and just a nice quiet place as well.
Sounds lovely.
Nice.
Yes.
Excellent.
So yeah, that was very good.
Lovely. Anything else, or is that just it? I'm saying anything else like, oh yeah, did you just do that and then nothing else? But it's just like anything else?
Pretty much more or less, really.
Okay, that's
yeah,
cool.
that was it. Really, just
cool.
got up on with some reading, relaxed,
Nice.
chilled out. Yeah, it was very, very good.
Cool. Lovely. Okie dokie. Well, in which case we shall move on to you, Mr.
Indeed.
Barnard. How's your week been?
My week's been good. It was my birthday this week. It really was.
Was it? I don't remember that.
Yes.
I wish I remembered that.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, I know you don't care.
Nah, not really.
Yeah, I so look at it when I see the deadness behind your eyes whenever I mention shit like that. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that again, is
my
it?
old friend. I'm off again. Back under the bridge.
Which one's this, Darren? Is this? God, blimey, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We're at that age now where you're going, birthday? What, mine? Again?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, shit.
Is it come round? What, again?
Yeah. So now to quote sort of Pink Floyd, you're now shorter of breath and one day closer to death. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, good.
You know, the Grim Reaper has flicked across one more of the pebbles on the old life abacus there.
Yep, that's it.
Yep, indeed. So there we go. Woof,
Nice.
straight across like that. And what I did this week also, because it was my birthday, a big AAA title came out.
Video game, yeah.
Video game was, yes. That being Starfield. And I've been stuck in that game a lot since it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's Fallout wearing a spacesuit,
Right.
but I don't know.
Or at least it's not Seinfeld in a spacesuit.
Exactly. Yeah.
What?
What do you mean?
Space,
Yeah.
what to do with that? It's kind of empty, isn't it? That's why it's called space. Fuck me.
Yeah, that was a very successful
It's the cleverest
show.
thing on telly. Is it?
Yeah,
The stupidest viewers on telly? I think you are. Next.
Never.
Sacred cow, mown down, mission accomplished.
Yeah,
Boom.
no, I'm in total agreement with you. I've never seen the fascination of Seinfeld.
Seinfeld, what's that all about? Hold on, the police are coming for me.
They're coming for me.
Oh,
Wrong
it's
place.
because
You'll never catch me alive, copper.
It's because we've insulted Seinfeld.
Are you sure it's not Amazon looking for Sophie Waller-Bridge?
Oh, what, after last week? Yeah, maybe.
Where's my money?
Sophie,
what
what the
Jeff
fuck?
Bezos
What the
sounds
fuck? I
like.
thought we had a relationship. 60 million, man. 60 million. Jeff, he pissed off. He asked me to come around, cut your teeth off, stick them in your ass. Where's my creamies, man?
What's happening? Right.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. So, yeah, Starfield. There's an awful lot to it. It's only been out like less than a week now, I think it is.
Yeah.
And the amount of guides and videos saying, just helping you to build a character and what you should do to get the most out of the game is just tremendous. There was one guy, he's put up 15 secrets you never knew about Starfield, and it's like, oh, right, yes, this is going to make the game a lot easier. There's sort of like workarounds and stuff like this that are in the game themselves. So, like doing things like if you get a starship, you nick one or you buy one, you have to register it, right? So instead of going through a vendor to do it, which is much more expensive, you've actually got it in the menu on your in your inventory. You can actually register it that way and save yourself like a couple of $100,000. So little things like that, they don't make public,
right?
If you know what I mean, in the actual explanation for the game, or the sort of like the manual or whatever it is you get with it. I got it digital wise. I've managed to get it off of.
When was the last time you bought a game that came with a manual?
Yeah, true. Very true. There are one or two things they need to change about it. Like, I don't want to have to keep walking 40,000 miles to get back to my ship. Can I just call it in? Can I? Because it's got a crew on it. It's like, so are you telling me I'm the only one that knows how to fly this fucking thing? Is that
You've
it?
got the keys.
Yeah,
You don't trust them with them.
these hardened space explorers. So what did they do? What was it? Were they thumbing a lift most of the time to get to where they needed to be? They can't just sit in the pilot seat and just, come to me if I call them. No? Oh,
No.
I've got to go walk about. Right, okay, fine.
You kids stay in the back, and if I hear you beep that horn, there will be trouble.
Yep.
I will
Indeed.
turn this ship around, I swear to God.
But like most Bethesda games,
It's bugged to fuck.
there are bugs in it, and there's some quite funny ones as well. Like I've shot some of the enemies, and I've just gone flying off into space. I actually stood there just watching one disappear into a small dot, just gone off planet. It's like, am I going to come across him later on as I take off, as he passes the window?
Just boom.
Yeah,
As you're doing the windscreen wiper, just trying to wipe him off the front cover.
indeed. So the game will run on 8 gigs worth of memory, rather than, they're saying you should have 16, but I've only got 8 and it's running all right on there. It's playable, and I'm quite enjoying it as well. But like most of their games, I'm not actually doing the main missions. I'm doing all the side stuff, and I'm just going to random planets going, oh, what's that building over there? And just wandering off and just exploring. And you can do that if you want to. You don't have to follow the actual main mission. And with some of the stuff they got, the shipbuilding that you can do in it as well. I mean, you can get as complicated with that as you want to. It's all sort of like balancing things like your reactor you've got on board the ship with what the sort of the output of like the weaponry on it, or
yeah, it's all power balancing stuff.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So interesting game. I would recommend it. If you can get it on it is an Xbox and PC sort of exclusive. It's all Microsoft stuff. So
yep.
I would say the best way to try it out is just get yourself a month of PC Game Pass. Don't include the Xbox if you haven't got one of those in it. You don't need to go for Ultimate. You can just go for, and it's only $7.99, and that way it's going to save you about £40 if you don't like the game. You've only spent $7 just to get that game there, but it is vast. The game is, I would say, it's probably actually too big.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones you first get into and it's like, where am I going to go? What am I doing? This is too much. There's too much to try and fit in. But
yeah, that's the problem with open world games. Funny enough, I've been talking about that. I don't want to turn this into a video game chat forever, but it's
no.
I was going to say I was talking about this on to a couple of people about the fact, you know, open world is probably the worst thing that's ever happened to video games, because it's just a vast map of cut and paste shit all around, like that you just trudge behind, and it's just something where you go, I've got too much to do, and it's like, at what point did you stop having fun and started having a fucking job in this game? It's like,
well, yeah, you know, you can sort of like, you know, you can kind of take up certain careers within the game. I mean, you can sort of like get a job as a security guard and stuff like that. Honestly, you can march into places and they will employ you. But it's terrible for a person like me because I have to do everything. I can't not, because it's like, well, what if there's a special weapon that's going to make the game easier for me? If I don't do that thing over there, I'll never find it. And and something else that I got a little bit of a kick out of when I was playing this game. You know, when you're creating your character and it asks you to name it, right? I thought, you know what? I'm just going to call it by name. So call one Darren, right? So you get the ship, and you get a robot that's on there as well that helps you out going on stuff. And I got on there, and I didn't know this was a thing. And it went, so Captain Darren, where are we going to go? And I'm like, did I?
He said my name.
He said my name, and you can put your name in it, and it will actually, it knows how to say quite a few names. Now, of course, somebody's gone and actually explored this to the nth degree to see what the restrictions are on it, right?
Yeah.
Now, apparently, it can't say the word. It can't say the word Greg. Right? So if your name's Greg, you're out of luck. However, it can call you Captain Boobies. Right?
Right.
So there we go. So, or I think arse, it could say Captain Arsehat as well. Right? So, yeah. So Greg, if you're a Greg and you're looking to play it, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to realise this. I know this is probably a deal breaker.
Yeah.
But you can always call yourself Captain Boobies instead.
So you call yourself. So you could call yourself Captain Chungus, but
you
Captain
could do.
Greg is well out.
Yeah, Greg, it can't quite get its lips around, if you pardon the expression.
Pardon?
Yeah,
I can't get my lips around Greg. Signed, Starfield, the game.
Yeah, but there's one guy who's already gone through this, and you have to go through the opening sequence to get to the part where you get the robot saying your name. So it's a little bit of a grind, but he's done it so you don't have to.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I may start another character and, you know, I don't know, Captain Fuck Knuckle or something like that, and just see if it actually knows how to say the word fuck knuckle.
Captain Bunga Bunga Party.
So yeah, so that's
is there a character limit to the names?
I don't think there is.
So you could go for one of those really stupidly long English words. So you'd be Captain Flocky Knocking Hill Manipulation.
Exactly.
It's the
Or
word that means
maybe-
the art of estimation is useless.
Or maybe you can call it that famous Welsh town, the San Glilio Gog, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, little town by the
Yeah.
lake. Is it? Is that what it
just
translates
call it
to in
just
English?
Captain Chocky Wocky Doodah. Just
Yeah,
see
Chocky
how
Wocky Doodah.
see how he figures from that.
Yep.
Nice.
Captain Clunge Master.
Yeah.
I am Clunge Master.
Noob Master 6969.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's Starfield.
Right.
Worth it if you can go all of it. If you want to try it, PC Game Pass, $7.99.
Right.
Can't go wrong. It is pretty and it is vast and it is just there's just loads of places to go to. There's loads of planets, loads of systems.
Just loads.
And yeah, there's like, you know, things you got to watch out for, like don't put any contraband on your ship because you'll get scanned as you go into a system, but there are ways around that as well. If you make friends with the raiders, that was it, the Crimson Brigade, I think they're called, you can get yourself things like blockers for the scanners so that the local police can't scan your cargo hold.
God, you know, even I get boarded sometimes. You know,
Exactly. But apparently, you should do everything in a game at least once, even stuff like getting caught by the police, because you never know what you'll get out of it.
Right.
They say that about anal as well, so take
Exactly,
that with a pinch of salt.
Well, it's what you put in, I find. Otherwise, you know, it can be a bit of a pain in the arse. But,
what has a hazelnut in every bite? No, anyway.
Moon River.
We're back to Captain Chocky Wocky Doodah.
We
again,
are,
aren't
yes,
we?
we are. Yeah,
It's all circular, this conversation.
it is. So there we go. Sorry, that's it. I'll shut up now.
Oh, is that it?
Yep.
All right. I would say, have you done anything else? But clearly, that's all you've been doing.
Oh, it's just more work.
Right.
I had some days off, and I didn't see any terrible cliche superhero films.
Okay.
Anything like that. So
Oh, well, never mind. Anyway, so moving on to my week. While you were having your birthday, Dal, I was having my 25th wedding anniversary.
woo,
Hey.
Woo! Yay! Carol could have been out by now for good behaviour. And basically, yes, it was nice. We went off and had a lovely dinner, all very cool. In a fancy little steak restaurant thing, up in town, and that was really cool. It's just nice, but it's one of these places where it's like the menu's like really, it's like you can't pick anything other than steak and chips. So you go in, you sit down, and they go, "You're having what? How are you having your steak?" And you go, "Medium rare or whatever." And they go, "Right, fine," and that's it. And you don't even have to order. Basically, the plate turns up. It's got a pile of chips a mile high. It's got half of the steak, well done, or whatever, however you want it done, sliced up into little morsels in this kind of sauce, which is like some special sauce. But then what they've got is the rest of the steak kept warm just behind you. So what happens is you eat everything, and then the lady comes back and she like puts more steak on your plate and more chips on your plate, and you're like, oh, I could get used to this. And it just kind of, you just don't order anything. You just, by sitting down, you have sat down for the for the standard meal, and the only and the only thing you can choose is your pudding and your drinks.
Pudding as well.
Oh yeah.
So you eat three tons of meat.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was literally like pull the horns out, wipe its arse, and just put it on a plate. It was,
I could just picture the scene now. Excuse me, waiter. Is somebody hitting a bell? I can hear something. And he says, no, sir, that's not a bell. That's the clanging of your arteries as they shut permanently.
Yeah, well, there is the whole thing about the fact that, you know, you've eaten this meal and you good job because you paid for it, and then all of a sudden you're going to be carrying on eating it for the next 3 days because there's that much. Anyway, but then what happened was the pudding came along, and it was like, what pudding were you like? And we're going through all these fancy French names, and I couldn't do any of them. I didn't understand any of them, so we just randomly picked. And I ended up with this thing, no joking, it stood about a good 12 inches tall. And it was basically meringue.
Euphemism.
Yeah, euphemism. Do we not do phrasing? Hold on. Do we not do phrasing anymore?
Phrasing.
Thank you. And basically, it was like a nest of meringue, then some ice cream, then another meringue, then on top of that was like a raspberry sorbet. Then on top of that was another meringue. Then on top of that was some whipped cream. And then on top of that was another meringue. And the whole fucking thing was covered in this raspberry coulis. I think it was called the Diabetes 101. But the thing was, it was fucking awesome. And by the time I got to the very bottom of it, my eyes were seeing through time, and my insulin levels were so high they were setting off other people's diabetes warnings on the table next door. And it was amazing, absolutely gorgeous. And I really wish I could.
Wafer thin mint.
Wafer thin.
Yeah, so that was really nice. And then for this weekend, we Carol and I we rented this little tiny cottage by a lake, and kids free, no kids, and it was just by a lake. We stayed there for the whole weekend, and it was so hot, and because there was no one around, we could just leave the doors open, and it was just like a massive, just open plan little place. And I was just like, this is great, being like a real adult. And by real adult, I mean we just sat there drinking wine in the sun, reading books, and then occasionally going in and out of this sort of like walk-through shower thing, which was just kind of like you could kind of go in and go, oh, I'm cold again. That's brilliant. Go sit back out on the veranda, drink some more wine. Yes, I should have some more wine. Yeah, so that's basically been my week. It's been decadence, absolute decadence, darling.
Fantastic, sir.
Yes. I haven't watched anything. I've literally not watched anything. I've been playing a game called Blasphemous 2, which to cut a long story very short is like, hey, you like playing platform games? Fuck you, that's why. The game. And yeah, and essentially that's that. It's a game that revels in beating you to the ground and laughing in your face and stealing your lunch money. But it's actually, but you get very cross at it, and then you carry on trying to beat it. And when you do, I get into kind of like that kind of rage of kind of like, fuck you, you know, as the bad guy goes down. And it's like, yeah, it's very cathartic, but it does build up the frustration somewhat. So not very good on your heart rate, especially if you've eaten like essentially an entire Aberdeen Angus over the course of a week and drunk your body weight in alcohol. So yeah, maybe just, you know, if you're not up for a stressful time, don't play it. But that's
duly noted.
Duly noted. So that's it. That's our week. I'm normally I'd have a lot more to talk about, but you know that's been the way it's been. You know. So let's go over to our feedback. What have we got here? Indiana Jones and a Dial of Destiny. Well, we had someone called Elton McManus who said something like, guys, you'll never guess who I'm stood behind in a queue. And he had a photograph of a genuine Timpsons.
Wow.
There you go. And Jim, assuming you've not heard it, basically we came to the conclusion that the whole film was actually secretly about Archimedes inventing Timpsons because, you know.
It makes more sense than the damn movie.
Yeah. So yeah, he invented Timpsons so that he could, you know, get his watch fixed, and that was how it started. So Elton's been doing some on-site reporting and actually found Timpsons and found Archimedes in the Timpsons. So that's good. So there is some good coming out of this film. Jeffrey Mark Hyman says, once again, you gentlemen have managed to spin gold from straw, which I think was which I think was only fair, because, I mean, nothing else was good about that goddamn film, to be honest. It was absolute dog shit. And Timpson's features quite highly in Martin Thompson's contextless free.
Yes.
Yeah, again, Archimedes. He's in Timpson's. It's a thing. You got to watch out for him. And
is that like seeing like Jesus in your breakfast cereal?
Archimedes in your Timpsons.
Exactly. Yeah. If you look carefully, you look. You squint.
You can find Mads Mikkelsen trying to get his shoes resold, his Nazi boots. And then we had someone else called Teresa Burnside. I'm sure I've heard from her somewhere.
Sounds familiar.
And she actually managed to watch the film that we hadn't actually managed to watch because of reasons, Darren. She said, and she wrote, we watched Vikings the movie, which we really enjoyed, Darren.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Luckily, there were no horned helmets in sight and the scenery and locations were excellent. It seemed like those responsible actually did their research. And then she continues, the Indiana Jones movie, however, was shite. The female lead, I can't remember her name and I don't really care, had about as much charm and character as a plank of wood, and the child made me miss Short Round. And wheeling Karen Allen at the end was just insulting. For heaven's sake, Indy, retire. I think that's sentiments we can all agree with.
Yeah.
And
of all the kids of all the world, why do you bring one with a goddamn moustache?
and a monobrow, so that if you turned his head upside down, you couldn't tell which way he was up. Yeah, so,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I will say, the film, it started promisingly.
Did it?
Well, compared to the rest of it. But it's like, with Crystal Skull, as soon as it went from the Paramount logo to a fucking meerkat mound, you knew you were in trouble. This didn't do that. So but then after that, it was kind of, they went through all the other movies and picked out all the shit bits to replicate. Annoying child sidekick. Tick. Casual racism. Tick. Shit green screen. Tick.
Werewolf.
Oh,
tick.
God.
Tick. We also had Ian Bolton, who said, watch this today. I didn't mind it, but I don't want to watch it again. It's an indifferent shrug of a movie. That's fair. Chris Johnson said it's like watching Indiana Jones being taken on an adventure by his YTS carer. And I think we mentioned this before. Rob Valentine wrote and said, my position is that I love Indy, and when you end your film series with the characters perfectly deconstructed and riding off into the sunset with Sean Connery, you stop.
Yeah, you do.
At which point Adrian Saunders also writes, well, they said that this was the last one, well, until zombie Harrison Ford has been CGI'd and brought back from the dead. Yes. So, yeah, I think we're all on the same page with Indiana Jones. If anybody wants to leave any other feedback, you can send it in to feedback@blackdogpodcast.com, or you can get on our Facebook group, which is the Black Dog Podcast on Facebook groups. I don't know why I said it that way. Normally I just say facebook.com/groups/the Black Dog Podcast. I'm running right off my own script now. Anyway, that's it. We'll leave it there, because we're barreling ahead, and what we will do now is we'll take a break, and when we return, we'll be down for the last night of Soho. In it, roll the jingle, me old China. Up with the apples and pears, me love. Ooh. I don't know what happened. I don't know what that was. Right, so Last Night in Soho, which is not the sequel to One Night in Bangkok, as I was previously informed. But anyway, that's a different movie. Anyway, Last Night in Soho is a 2021 British psychological thriller horror film directed by Edgar Wright and co-written by Wright and Kirsty Wilson-Cairns. It stars Thomasin McKenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy, Matt Smith, Rita Tushingham, and Terence Stamp and Diana Rigg. Oh, and Michael Ajao? There, Michael Ajao. The film was premiered on the 78th Venice Film Festival on September the 4th, 2021. So, in fact, it's almost exactly 2 years old today. 3 years old today.
Way.
Yeah, 2 years.
And we planned that, of course.
2 years old today. Yeah, yeah. We did plan that. The film focuses around Ellie Turner, who is a sweet, naive teenager with a troubled mental health. She loves music, fashion of the swinging 60s, and dreams of becoming a fashion designer in Soho. Unfortunately, her mental health issues are, well, let's just say, giving her a fresh perspective on the 60s in Soho. The movie had a budget of $43 million, but bearing in mind it was released smack dab right in the middle of the second lockdown. So, yeah, not the most successful time in the world. So what do you think it actually made at the box office, Jim?
One Vespa and a packet of salt and vinegar crisps.
Oh,
Nice.
In a straight glass.
In a straight glass. Nice. What about you, Tal?
One pub drinking General Zod, and 50 packets of Rothmans.
Yeah. Yeah. Taxi Vizod.
It's an instant hit. Yeah.
Oh, you're right, my dear. Anyway, unfortunately, no, it made only $23 million at the worldwide box office, making it a complete and utter flop. However, as I said before, it couldn't have been released any worse if it tried, because it, right in the middle of the COVID pandemic. And not only that, I think one of the few films that came back at the same time was kind of like The French Dispatch and Tenet. So it kind of was really up against it in terms of like the few movies that did come out of the cinema. So it got absolutely trounced and didn't get much of a screening area, and so basically, really, the easiest way to see it was on video or on streaming.
I did actually go to the cinema to watch this.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
We made a point of going because me and Marie both like the sound of this film, and it's like, well, when it comes out, we'll go. And so that part of that 24 million is our hard-earned cash.
Okay, so the other 23,999,930 quid was by other people, but the rest was Darren. Cool. So, so we're going to go around the table. This was your pick, Dal, so you'll go last.
No problem.
But yeah, we'll go around the table, see what everyone thought of it, and then we'll get into a proper review. So let's start with you, obviously, Jim. What did you think of Last Night in Soho?
Well, this was the second time I've seen it, because I didn't get to see it in lockdown. But as soon as it appeared on, I was on Amazon Prime, I think, up for rent.
Yeah,
we warmed up the credit card and parted with the money to put some pennies in Edgar's pocket so he can keep on making nice movies for us.
Nice.
And so that did hit streaming fairly quickly, which was good. But it was pay-per-view, so I think a lot of people are just discovering this movie now. So had a good year and a half since I've seen it, something like that. Which is probably just about the right time to go back to it. It was always a film I was going to go back to. And I find it really loved it the second time as well. And it's one of those movies, when you watch it a second time, knowing how the story goes, it's very, very interesting to watch it, because with kind of with this sort of plot, it's kind of, when you go back a second time, you can just spot going, well, did they play fair with us? Yes, they did. All the clues are there for you to put it together. But the script is very, very wily and will lead you astray very, very adeptly. But say the truth is, as they say up there on the screen from the very start, more or less, you could play sleuth and work this out yourself, which I think is always the mark of a good kind of like murder mystery sort of story. Yeah, you have to. Agatha Christie was great at it. That's why people still read her, is because you if you're paying attention and you're smart enough, you could crack it. Yeah. But I was just, again, I just adore this movie. I think it's works on so many different levels, and I enjoyed it more the second time, I think.
Oh, right, okay. Well, there you go. For me, so, it's the same deal. This is the second time watching it. I couldn't get to see it at the cinema because actually I was suffering with COVID, and so I didn't really have a lot of chance to get out when it came out of the cinema. So when it came out for DVD release, because I think it came out on Blu-ray DVD pretty much as it came out on the pay-per-view streaming services, and I got it then, and yeah, I was pretty taken with it then, and I haven't actually watched it since, so to my shame. So this is almost like the first watch I've seen it in 18, 20 months, something like that. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. We'll get into a little bit more about the ending, but yeah, I have to say you're right. If you sit there with this, with the knowledge in your head, you can actually see how the film wrong foots you and deliberately pushes you in directions to make you think things that, the second time round, not to think. But yes. It's really clever. It's really clever the way it's done it, and to watch them do the sleight of hand is quite cool. So it's more interesting in a more sort of like an analytical way second time round. But the first time, I have to say, it caught me smack unawares, and I to my shame, I just went, what? As certain things were revealed, and I'm like, oh fuck, of course. And it was lots of that kind of slapping your head as you're watching it, going, oh, I should have seen it, sort of moment. But yeah, overall, thumbs up. Still a strong movie. It's a shame it didn't get better recognition. I can see why a few people turned against it anyway, because there's a lot of sniffy reviews around it. But I think those people are just being a little bit unfair because they're not going with the sort of the feel of the movie. But we're not here to review other people's reviews. Nope. Personally, I did like it a lot. So, Darren, what about you?
I think this is the most pleasure I've ever had at being hoodwinked. It really is. Yeah. Like you guys, this is the second time I've seen it. First time at the cinema, now watching it on streaming. I love this film. I love what it not only the story itself, but it's one of the first films I've seen where the geography is correct, where the character is running down a street, turns a corner into another one, and it's not a street that's 15 miles away from where it should be. It's actually following, because I'm looking at, there was one bit where, running through back streets, and I can identify the route as she's taking it.
She did at one point, without sort of wanting to interrupt you too much, but she did at one point run the Cartoon Network drinking gauntlet, which is she ran from the Clackan. She ran from the Clackan, which is right behind Liberty's, up towards Carnaby Street. She ran down Carnaby Street. She ran up one. She took a left. She went up past the the White Horse. Went past that and then ended up at standing there as the camera span around her outside the Shaston, which is exactly where I was last night.
There you go.
And I literally took that route. I'm like, fuck yeah, they got that absolutely bang on. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
No, that's fine. That's fine. yeah, I love this film. I love what it says about London, because I totally agree with it. Once the sun goes down, London is a totally different place, and it's not very nice. I mean, I've walked down fucking Oxford Street at 2 a.m, and I can tell you one thing: it's not the same experience. It's not the same feel. Definitely the opposite end of the scale, because of certain individuals that wander around there at night, and just the whole feeling of watch your fucking back.
Well, you know, as I've often quoted in the old version of this podcast, you know, you can go down an alleyway and you can see John Landis staring at the big book of butts, and then you can go down the same alleyway and then a tramp can come out of a rubbish pile with a big black rubber dildo and go at you. So, you know, it's a land of Soho is a land of contrasts.
Oh, I see. It's a lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels fucking cosplay section, or should I say the flash mob? Oh no, that's probably a rather
no, it wasn't the flash mob.
Phrasing,
phrasing,
phrasing.
Yeah, thank you. It was a guy sleeping in a pile of trash down the alleyway between Madame Jojo's and Brewer Street. Yeah.
Indeed. And there's just a little nod there for the any Black Dog listeners that came to the last couple of shindigs that we did. The pub that the main character worked in, if you do an about face and look behind you, you'll find the Nellie Dean where we had shindigs. The last two.
Yes,
exactly. Well, so, that's the Toucan's famous though. I mean, that's a famous little pub on the corner of Soho Square. And yeah, it does. It faces the Nellie Dean, literally diagonally opposite. So
it certainly does.
There you go.
So so in general, I just love the pacing of the story. I love the direction it goes in, the ending, the messages it puts across about, you know, things in general, especially how sort of like, you know, the sort of shit time women had during the 60s trying to get into show business, and the sort of fucking shite they had to go through just to make it there. Yes. Just brilliantly put up there on screen. It's just like, oh Christ, this was a depressing era. You know.
Wow. I don't think it's that different right now, to be honest.
No. There's that is still a thing, but back then it was even more blatant and less undercover. I think back then, you know. Yeah. But there you go.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes.
Okay. Cool. Right. Well, then let's get into it. Right. I think we're all in general agreement that it's a good film, a great film, and you guys should check it out if you haven't. We are going to get into spoilers any second now, but if you do want to watch this film and send feedback in, then by all means go over to Netflix and watch it. It's right there now. I would say right now, from here on in, if you haven't seen it and you do intend to watch it, just stop the podcast.
Just go watch it. Watch it. Yeah, I can hardly just don't listen to us any further. Just go and watch the thing and then come back afterwards, because you really don't want this experience spoiled.
Yep,
for you at all.
Yeah. So spoilers. You can't copyright a fucking foghorn.
No.
So, ladies and gentlemen, prepare.
Put your helmet on. We'll be reaching speeds of 3.
There you go. and so
never getting old.
It's never getting old. No. And one day I will find a way of getting the Dean Pelton rap on here. I will do that.
Oh God, yeah.
Obama's scared of me. Sorry, that was a little green room humor there. Right. Okay. So let's get into the film then. Should we just start at the beginning? I guess rather than just go through and pick it apart. I mean, what did you think of Thomasin McKenzie to start with? Because when she's first introduced, and she's like ridiculously naive. How did you find that her acting and that character straight off the bat? You know.
All right. Well, I've got to say, I've listened to her in an interview, and that she can do accents. Oh my God, can she do accents? Because she sounds nothing like that in real life.
No.
That whole voice is just a complete put on.
Yeah.
I can't remember where she comes from.
It's called acting.
The accent. It is. It's called really good acting. It was just because the whole accent is totally and utterly believable.
Yeah.
And just the way she carries herself in that first bit, this sort of, as you say, this naive outlook on what the 60s was all about and this love of it, which I think makes what comes up next. Yeah, it just really kind of adds so much weight to that.
Yeah.
Really does.
Yeah. It is worth mentioning that she actually comes from New Zealand.
Oh, that's it. Yes.
So that Cornish accent.
Yeah. To do that sort of accent with the changing pitch of her voice as well. My word.
Yeah. Yeah. She was quite the revelation in terms of the actual acting, because I've seen her in a couple of things, but none of them really kind of stand out. I mean, like, bloody, what was it? She was in Power of the Dog that we reviewed not long ago, and she was in that bloody awful fucking Shamalama Ding Dong movie that I watched, Old, one where people just sit on a beach and get old.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the gag. That's the whole thing. But anyway, what about you, Jim? How did you find her?
I thought she was just thoroughly sort of charming. I can understand why some people might find the voice irritating, whatever, but it's kind of, I said she pitched it just perfectly. I mean, at first you think she's just very naive, but I think the way it kind of, the conversations she have, you get these little nuggets of her backstory. It's kind of, well, no, actually, she's taking this sunny side up, optimistic approach. It's not just naivety. It's actually, it's her armor against what's happened to her.
A defense mechanism.
Yeah, basically. And like psychologically, it makes an awful lot of sense. That kind of, after what she's been through, you know, why will, you know, you're going to do something or you will go mad, kind of. And, you know, she's chosen to embrace something her mother loved, something her gran loves, and that's her anchor. And, you know, it all makes perfect sense. And I kind of, you probably have to be quite hard-hearted once she gets the whole of residence.
Yeah.
To sort of think, oh, she's a really nice girl. And Jocasta's a cunt.
Yes.
Oh, God, isn't she?
Oh, God, yes.
Jacunta, I think we'll call her from now on.
Yeah. I mean, that was what I was going to say, because she comes across as incredibly sweet, and it's interesting because I don't know about you guys, but the first thing that came to my mind when she goes, "Oh, I'm going to go and be up in that there's London and doing stuff and things and stuff," and I'm just like, you are going to get eaten alive. And it was kind of interesting because I think that was the whole point straight away, that the audience were. The reason I brought her up and her innocence and everything is because I think the thing that drives all the way through is that the film makes you feel like you know where it's going.
Yes.
You know how. Yeah, it puts the audience in the feeling of being in the driver's seat. Like, oh, you're going to go to London, are you? You are going to get eaten alive. Oh, you're going to go and live in a little tiny flat. Oh, God, that's never going to work out. And you're always feeling like you're one step ahead of the film until you're not.
Yeah, talking about in the driver's seat, that fucking taxi driver.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, no. I wanted to go and have a fucking shower, scrub myself with a fucking wire brush and Dettol after that bit. It was just, oh, yeah, don't worry about paying for it. We can work something else out. And it's like, oh.
Yeah. Well,
it's like the first tremor on the web, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think it's obviously the film very about London and the mythology of London. But I think there's also a broader narrative that people will connect with when they see this movie is that her kind of sort of naivety is very much like how many people go to college and university in that frame of mind. And you can find, your first year at university, a lot of people can, have terrible time. You know what I mean? Because it isn't what you expect. You don't meet the right people. You're in horrible hotel residences, and there's all kinds of stresses and strains that you never even thought you were never even aware of.
Yeah.
And I think it's very. It speaks very. I think it really nails that reality down, which gets to hold the residents very well, in a way that I think even if you just like moved out and shared flats, grotty flats with people, that kind of having to mark your stuff in the fridge, kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? It's kind of
yeah. I mean, do you think that the whole film is really about that whole deconstruction of myth, a deconstruction of like how people mythologize everything from university to the swinging 60s, the nostalgia factor of like, oh, isn't it so cool, and all this kind of thing. And actually, the whole film is about coming face to face with the reality of things.
Do you know what? I think
it's very about that duality, about sort of gritty realism and sort of dreams and glamour. And there's a theme of this kind of almost like two opposing worlds clashing. But they're worlds that are inextricably linked, and I kind of think the moral of the story is, but the fact is, as human beings, we are actually trapped in a Venn diagram of those worlds.
It's just you got one foot in nostalgia, one foot in myth, and then right in the center is reality. And it's just like, oh God. What were you going to say, Dal? Sorry.
That's right. I was going to say that I just look at this story, thinking about it now, and I just think Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf itself, or the forest being London, and the wolf is just the reality of what it's really like there. That's the thing that's kind of tracking her every fucking step of the way and breaking down her sort of hold on what she thinks is reality. This is the real reality that you've got to face up to. You're not here with your gran now. You're not living in this, this perfectly contained world anymore. You are on your own. And I must admit, it's the whole, I could feel from the grandmother's point of view as well, how she must feel knowing that her granddaughter is in such a big scary place, and that she can't just go to her like within 2 seconds and protect her from what's there. She's so far away, and it's that whole thing of feeling useless, feeling like you can't protect that loved one. And when she's on the phone going, like, later in the film, when she's saying, come home, I'll get someone to bring me down. I'll drive there right. Or she goes, I can't stay another night. And she's like, I'll come now. I'll get someone to drive me to you. The moment she said that, Ree's like, she's got a really good grandmother.
Yeah.
And it's you just feel for that. That one little exchange there.
That's where it gets you, though, I think, because it is that kind of thing. As Lee said, it puts you, make you feel like you're one step ahead. But very soon you get to a point where kind of like, oh, no, I really care about this character, and bad things can't happen to her. And, it becomes upsetting.
Yeah.
Because the film's bloody got you there. It's put a hook in your heart.
Oh, man. And it just...
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I found, the one thing that really kept me kind of going, oh no, this is horrible, I can't take this anymore, was just the whole sort of how she had all her sort of naivety basically scrubbed off, and you watched it happen because other people's thoughtlessness, and how she was still mythologizing everything, and you're sitting there kind of, oh, I'm gonna be this great designer, and I'm gonna be this, and it's just like, no, you and about 60 other people are in this room making clothes that no one gives a shit about.
You're just meat for the grinder.
You are, and just there was whole moments of that film, and I was just watching it, and I'm thinking, oh God, I see that, when I used to be up in London for work, I used to kind of go past, and there was like the UCL and all that kind of thing, and I'd just be going, oh God, oh, this is this true horror is really just the town itself. It's not ghosts and ghouls and psychic abilities and everything. It's just how everyone is like a pile of rats just climbing over each other to get to the fucking cheese. And it's just, it's horrible. It was just like all the way through. Ghosts, the prostitution, the murder. I could live with all of that, but I'm just sitting there going, "Oh God, so much of this film just makes me feel crappy."
It's like that Green Day song, "The Boulevard of Broken Dreams." It's just, it's that. And I don't know if you guys feel the same, but the moment I heard her reality kind of snap was when you see, like, her and Matt Smith go off to this. He says, "Come on, I think you're going to like what I found you." And he takes her to this club. She does a little bit of a audition, and she gets hired. And he goes, "This is just a taste of what's to come." And then the next thing you see, somebody on stage singing, and it's not her. And you realise that the place is like a strip club, right? And she's one of the skimpily dressed dancers on stage, shaking her ass in the face of oh man, just that whole thing of men's strip clubs is like, oh God, this is horrible. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm speaking from personal experience now. You've been a dancer at a strip club. Yeah, I have. Yeah. I was a male stripper in a go-go bar. I made my living from tips in the G-string.
You were working as a waitress in a cocktail bar.
I was, yes.
When I met you.
No, once I went out for a birthday celebration with someone, and they'd arranged to go to this strip bar. I went with them, right? And I'm not joking. I just felt depressed. I went into this place, and you just see all the blokes just standing there, not making a sound, just staring. And I automatically was brought back to that moment, and I just get out.
Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting because this kind of film, or this film, does that thing which, when you see the more polarized areas of the internet that get outraged about X, Y, and Z and all that bollocks about woke and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
It's interesting because this movie is never sort of quoted in those kind of terms. And it's because it's, the whole thing's woven into the story, right in the fabric, right from the start. And it's not just sort of like, it's not putting issues front and center right in the middle and just going, this is the issue we are discussing. Here it is. And then, now we can have an action movie. It's like, no, it's like naturally woven through. And I think it's actually a more powerful movie than some which are trying to actually, shall we say,
oh God, yeah,
push a message.
No, the whole look of sort of like the just men in general, even if not just around that time, but the sort of things that it's the sort of messages that boys are given when they're younger, and they grow up, and this is what they become. This is the sort of, and this is the rampantness of it during that time. You can see it at its absolute worst. The way they view women, look at when they're talking to her, and it's always the same fucking line.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
Mm.
Oh my God. It's just, you just feel fucking depressed watching just that whole, it's like your actual demeanor goes downhill from that one point where she does that dance on the stage, and it's like, oh, fucking hell, we've gone over it's like the big one at Blackpool. We've gone over the top, and the brakes are completely off now. We've got to cling on to this until this finishes.
Okay, what about just moving on from that for 1 second? The film itself, its portrayal of Soho itself.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a character of its own in the 60s. How did because it's going to sound really weird given the context of what we were talking about, but I don't know whether it's just familiarity of the area or something like that. But when they do that first reveal, when Ellie goes under the bed sheets, and then she just walks down that little corridor and then comes out into the middle of at the bottom of Shaftesbury Avenue, and there's the big sort of, oh no, it's not Shaftesbury Avenue, is it? It's the Café de Paris, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. It is
Café
yes.
de Paris at the bottom of Leicester Square, and she walks out, and there's the big glitzy lights, and there's Thunderball and James Bond, and all the cars look smart, and you got Cilla Black, and then there's a bit of there's a bit of, is it Dusty Springfield or what was it? I can't remember the bloody Petula Clark.
Petula Clark, yes, yeah.
And suddenly it's like I just got hit with this massive wave of nostalgia. Now, I wasn't born in the 60s, but that era and the whole thing's got that kind of magical tint to it. How did you feel about it? Because I sat there for the first 20 minutes of that film once she goes into the time travel elements. Yeah. And I just sat there with a big old smile on my face because I think that was some amazing filmmaking to turn what we know as Soho and the sort of surrounding areas and literally just project it back into the 1960s and give it that real gloss sheen, which actually, as the film goes on, just descends into reds and blues. But I can talk about that later. But how did you feel about that? How did the representation of Soho, how was that for you guys?
Again, like a, her initial sort of naivety about it. I think this is the thing that lends weight to the literal slap in the face you get a bit later on. It builds up. It's like the whole thing with Matt Smith, looking like the hero for turning around and clocking that bloke one. For opening his mouth and saying what he says. Of course, we all know later on when we find him drinking, have a laugh with the bloke at a bar, that really, and it is general. And I have to say, by the way, it's nice to see Matt Smith going, showing his range. They can go from playing someone like the Doctor and being very believable in that role to playing someone like Jack and being menacing. Really menacing. Well,
I mean, in fairness, in some cases when he was the Doctor, he was fairly menacing, and he's also bloody menacing in House of the Dragon. If you've seen that.
Oh no, yeah, I know that. Yeah, but no, I'd not say this. You got to remember, this came out before House of the Dragon.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
This is like the flipping of the coin. I'm looking at this now, and I'm sitting there as I'm watching it. I'm thinking, do you know what? I think I would have liked to seen him play the Master in Doctor Who. And see what he could have done with that, because I think he would have done a much better job than John Sim. But that's another discussion for another time.
Quickly to the pub.
Yeah, quickly to the pub. Yeah, just that, as you say, that bit there, nice, gets you, leads you down a false path. It really does. Hoodwinks you, as this film always does throughout the entire thing, and you fall for it every step of the fucking way. And that is great. I love it.
I mean, for someone who's not, shall we say, not local, Jimothy, how did you feel about the whole representation of Soho? Because I guess you're kind of one step removed, not being there like literally every fucking day of the week like I was for 20 odd years.
Well, for me, it was kind of I say that sequence where she sort of travels in time or flashes back, whatever you want to call it. And that reveal of the street, that was kind of genuinely magical. And it was kind of, because, I'm not local to London, but just through osmosis, I know, so much about the 60s and 60s London, and it just nailed it looked right. You know what I mean? It looks kind of like a lot of the photos I've seen of, were the images of swinging London as it was. And it just kind of just nails it perfectly. And the only thing I can think is comparable is the moment in Back to the Future when Marty McFly goes into the town square.
Oh, Mr. Sandman sequence.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Love it. Yeah,
and it has that same kind of like cinematic magic of where you're swept along with the character and you feel what they're feeling. And the camera work sort of really, it puts you in their shoes. And in a way, I mean, I hate to say immersive because that's a crappy buzzword, but it is properly immersive filmmaking because it by that point, it's drawn you on side to the character. And the clever thing it does is just as she literally sort of slips into Sandy, you slip into her. Phrasing.
I was going to say, excuse me?
Phrasing.
But you know what I mean? You're completely identifying with everything she's seeing and seeing it with the same wonder. And it is just wonderful filmmaking that really just sweeps you along.
Did you guys, because one of my favourite sequences in that opening part is the dance routine between Matt Smith and Anya there. That bit, those two dancing on the dance floor together, that little exchange, I love that bit. I think that's just so well choreographed.
Yeah.
Between the two of them. And again, adds to the magic. Like that Beauty and the Beast moment, where they're dancing in the ballroom. Very much like that.
Yeah. I mean, it was something that started to, not necessarily grate on me, but it certainly was something I started to become acutely aware of, especially the second time round. And I don't know about you guys, but the amount of film references, nods, winks, homages, whatever you want to call them, from everything from that, which felt like a bit like sort of, you got your Pulp Fiction kind of, Jack Rabbit Slim's dancing sequence, to the makeup on Eloise at the end, where she looks like now am I going to say is it Carnival of Souls? She either looked like she was from Carnival of Souls, or she was looking like one of the Romero zombies.
What's that film?
Probably more
Dead
Carnival
Presidents.
of Souls, I think. Actually,
yeah. I think
Yeah.
Dead Presidents. That was another one, because that was what I can't remember his name now. Oh my god!
Yeah, because they had that white face with the black eyes.
Yes,
on it, the panda sort of face.
That's it. Oh god, what's his name? What is it? John.
Yes, John. Yes.
Yeah, John. And he has Dead President's makeup, and she looks like Carnival of Souls. All the reds and the blues feel very Jello. And this is where you come in.
This is a very, very like Jello movie. Not just in the look of it, but actually in the actual structure and themes of the story. Jellos are always murder mysteries. You always have, whether it's a man or a woman, you have a character normally who's not just found a mystery, but seemingly he's been driven mad or he's going mad, and you're never sure whether they really have found a mystery, or are they just losing the plot, or is someone trying to drive them mad? But it's also, in Jello, there's a long-running theme about sexuality and the exploitation of sexuality. But the classic thing in Jellos is you have a setup like a fashion agency, a school for dancers, a club, and it's all kind of glamour and glitz. And the story is taking you to the rotten, seedy filth that's just beneath the surface.
Yeah, definitely. It was just one of those things. You sort of looking at like as you say, Jim, Jallo. I mean, Jallo was very strong in this. I've not watched much Jallo, but I've seen enough documentaries on it to know what to recognise. I've listened to enough episodes of Hypnagogia, and yeah, it was this time round. I don't know about anyone else, but to me, the film references were kind of like a little bit more front and center, and I was kind of a bit like, oh, okay, there's that, and I was kind of ticking them all off, and that to me was the only detraction of coming at it a second time round. I was looking more at the references than the film itself. But I was going to ask you something with this character, because the nature of the visions, yeah, is it a psychic link? And if so, and this is the one bit that I always found a bit on the wonk for me, because you kind of try and explain it. There's a whole thing about Ellie trying to get control of it or being affected by it. So either Sandy turns around in the alleyway and pushes Ellie over. Yeah. Actually physically pushes her over. And then there's another sequence where Ellie's smacking on the glass of the mirror to basically smash through the mirror. And at that point I was starting to wonder, and again I think this is the second time round kind of thing rather than the first viewing, but then I start to wonder whether or not it is time travel or whether it's just her interacting with visions.
I honestly think it's her brain's interpretation of how strong the emotions are in that one moment that she's being projected at. And the more confusing it can get, because she knows by the end of it that someone is murdered, but she misreads it as Sandy, of course, not knowing actually, because it's so connected with her, she thinks it's her that's been killed. And it's like, well, no, it's not. You got that wrong. The actual murder, she was the one that caused the murders.
But what I'm trying to say is, I mean, is she's seeing these visions, but the visions actually start to actually physically interact with her, like the spirits of the murdered guys, the murdered punters, the fact that, as I say, Sandy is standing in an alleyway and actually physically pushes Eloise over.
But does she?
Well, that's my question. It's because
at those moments they're always usually at the kind of her sort of snapping out, as it were, if you know what I mean. And I think it is kind of, my reading of it is I think she is, say, psychically sensitive. Because these things, she sees her mother. In the opening scene, she looks in the mirror and she sees her mother reflected. And it is alluded to that she has been seeing it, and this is the onset of schizophrenia. But and what happens when she goes into that room? Again, this film, it's all about dualities and reflections. That her experience is reflecting Sandy's experience, and that's what causes the psychic link to kick in. And then it's kind of like, it's not so much time travel, but it's more like Inception. Because Sandy isn't dead, as we will later know. She's actually downstairs, and what she's interacting with is the memories, the memories of the house, and also Alex's memories.
Right. So, yeah, because the thing I was kind of trying to get at was, is it a Shining kind of situation of sort of like in The Shining with Danny basically picking up the evil of the house and it being represented through his eyes? As I
think it is.
Is it that kind of thing?
I think it's like
to go back to
projector.
Red Riding Hood. Now, if you think about logically about the story of Little Red Riding Hood, why does Red Riding Hood fall for a wolf wearing a daft hat and glasses and think it's Granny? It's because there is no wolf and there is no Granny. They're the same person. The obvious reading of Red Riding Hood is that Granny is a werewolf.
Whoa. Hang on. Hold up.
Oh, there you go. That went left down a side street.
I was going to say that went left where I was expecting it to go right. Hang on. What? So
that's a good point. Nobody's ever thought of that.
And in this, you've got kind of a surrogate granny figure in kindly old landlady, which she is actually the big bad wolf.
Fucking right.
Oh, here we go. See now somewhere Elton's listening to this, and he's in his car, and suddenly he's had to pull over to buy himself a whole heap of Bako foil. Because he's going right down a rabbit hole now. I'm telling you that now.
Elton, how's those baked potatoes going for you there? Yeah, how's those King Edwards doing in the oven?
Well, I mean, so you're saying that she's picking up on the memories, she's picking up on the emotional, like the empathy of the room. Or she's picking up on the spirits of the dead people in the bloody floorboards.
Well, I think at first she's picking up on the memories in the room, and then it's going as she actually connects with it. She's actually going to Alex's memories. But once you're getting to that level of consciousness, there's also other consciousnesses floating around in that house of everyone who's buried in there.
So
that's when they are attracted to her, and for obvious reasons, they're trying to reach out to communicate with her to say, save us. They're trapped in Alex's web, basically still, and not just I think because they're buried there, because she's still there and she's still carrying all those traumas and memories in her own
right. So she's
in her own sort of consciousness bubble that permeates the entire house. It's a huge soul trap, basically.
So they're there as long as she is.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's an interesting take on it, actually, because
she has like a symbiotic relationship with the house. She can't sell it because one, she has no legal paperwork to it because it's Jack's house and he's disappeared. But also, there's all the bodies there as well.
I've got
go on.
Just got to interject with this.
Yeah.
The whole thing about are they coming into her reality? I don't think that's it at all. I think her brain is acting like a projector because it shows this, right. There's evidence here to back this up as well. When she's in the library and she goes to stab a spirit with the scissors, and it's not her, it's Jacunta is standing there, right? Okay. Jacunta, and it's like it's that, and when she gets pushed over, and you hear her voice say, "Leave me alone." Why does that? That's not Sandy. That's some poor woman she's chased down the street, right? That's what that is. So I think the things are becoming so strong that they're actually projecting themselves onto the people around her.
And
I get that whole thing about tripping over and feeling like she's being held down by the spirits, I don't think that's it at all. It's just her struggling to move. I mean, I do believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Jim, but some people, I think they believe that ghosts are not actually spirits. They're just fragments of time, like memories.
It's a stone tape theory.
Intrude.
They're kind of like
was it where the fabric between reality and the next plane thins?
Because ghosts are normally born of a trauma, and the idea is that the trauma actually imprints itself, and in the right person with the right, it gets on the right wave. You can tune into that and suddenly get this broadcast from the past.
Interesting. It's like to be not crude, but just a bit base. I mean, it's like picking up a jacket or something that you were out the other night wearing, and then all of a sudden you get a waft of kind of stale smoke or stale beer, and you're suddenly like, oh, hang on, I remember
perfume
that.
or aftershave.
Yeah.
It's
Where it's like that. It's like that to an nth degree, where when you get a scent and suddenly it just unlocks a flood of memories.
Mm. Interesting, because I'm always reminded of old greasy Chinese meals when I usually go through Soho at 8:00 in the morning.
Lovely. That's the time you want to be reminded of greasy Chinese meals. Is 8:00 in the morning.
Exactly. That was never a fun time. Yeah, just going down Brewers Street, and it's just like the water's all slick and horrible, and the cobblestones, you're just like, oh, what is that smell? Oh, that's Chinese.
No,
it probably smelled great at like 11:00 at night when it was still hot. not at 8:00 in the morning when it's freezing cold.
Yeah,
congealing on the bloody puddles. Ugh. Anyway, so sorry, I'm having my own mental flashbacks now. Trap on the dildo. Oh! So yeah, oh god, where was I going with this? Okay, so here's the big spoilery question. And I'm asking you to be honest here.
Yeah.
How many of us around this table the first time round went, Terence Stamp is not Matt Smith?
I didn't think that at all. I thought he was Matt Smith.
Me too.
Yeah,
I did
see
as well.
again. See, this is the brilliance of that flipping writing, right? Okay, leading us down hoodwinked.
Well, the reason I got caught out by it, because a couple of times I was thinking, oh, that's too bloody obvious. A couple of times I was thinking that, but then there's a bit where he comes out of the toucan and he says, "See you later, see you around, girl," and he walks off and he walks around the corner by the Pizza Express. And as he walks off, he does that sort of swagger strut, and you're seeing him from behind, and it matches the swagger that Matt Smith has when you saw him in the scene before.
He's also wearing a 3/4 length camel coat, which is very reminiscent of Matt Smith's sort of attire in certain scenes, and also the smoking.
Yeah.
Right. I know it's a general thing anyway, but it's
the way he smokes.
It is the way he smokes. Yes, very much so. And I've got to say, the guy they got to play a young Terence Stamp in that, when he's sitting in the booth, the copper who's talking to Anya, Anya's character there, Sandy. That's it. Yeah, when he's talking to her, you even hear it in his voice. It's like, I can believe you grew up to be Terence Stamp. I can believe you are young Zod. Yeah.
Taxi for Zod.
Taxi for Zod, yeah. Why do you say these things when I will kill you for them?
Yeah. Dave, driver of taxi, kneel before Zod. So go on in. So were you this is kind of going back to the Terence Stamp thing, but were you satisfied by the fact that you find out that Matt Smith is dead?
Yes.
Were you?
Yes.
Because, okay, Jim?
I was, because it was kind of like, oh, of course. And then it's kind of, you realise, I've been looking at this all the wrong way, haven't I?
Yeah.
I've been well and truly done up like a kipper.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I definitely get that. I get that whole thing of like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
Unreliable narrator thing. However, I will say that the first time round, I did feel a bit cheated, because it takes nothing away from the film, absolutely not. But the one thing that throughout the film we've been sort of basically told is that what she's seeing is the truth. or at least her version of the truth.
Hmm.
And as soon as it turns into, oh, she was being stabbed, it was him doing it. And then all of a sudden it just goes, actually he didn't. He was the one being stabbed, and you go, now hang on, that's a bit of a cheat. And I did feel that was the one moment that the film properly stumbled for me, because I was just like, oh, so you've pulled the wool over my eyes with Terence Stamp going over the top of the Uber, over the top of the black cab, and you've done me up there, and then I'm like, okay, well then he's got it. And we find out he's not Matt Smith.
Yeah,
and then my brain goes, oh no! But just before Diana Rigg's character opens the door for the first time, she goes, "It's okay, I'm coming, Jack." And she opens the door and then realizes it's not Jack. It's was it Eloise?
mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, so Jack's in the house already. He's been in the house since 1960. And I thought that. And then it's like, so the Diana Rigg calling out Matt Smith's name,
Mm-hmm.
and Terence Stamp's character getting offed and then being revealed to be someone completely different.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, right, okay, here we go. And, again, it's that whole put you in the driver's seat thing and then pull the rug from under you. But at that point, it's like, it's all lining up, and then all of a sudden it just goes, oh, no, she's an unreliable narrator in this one particular moment, in this one particular vision. Everything else you got to take as read, and everything else you got to take as real, and everything else you got to take as accurate, except for this one thing, so we can have a surprise. Do you see where I'm coming from, guys? Or am I just barking up the wrong tree?
Still, no.
But the thing is, in that thing, it's not like where she's gone to bed and gone into a vision. He's like, this is an intrusion. It's like in the library where she nearly stabs Jacunta.
Yeah,
and it's an overlay, and where she's not seeing a flashback. She's getting things intruding, overlaying what's really happening. If you know what I mean. It's kind of.
Another thing as well, she's in the same position when she looks up. She's so, it really is kind of immersive for her.
Yeah, which I get.
And she only gets, but the thing is, when you watch it, when I watched it last time, I noticed is she pulls out of the vision before the point.
Yeah,
where Sandy's going to start stabbing him. So okay. She's not like time traveled or psychic linked into a full scene. You're just getting flashes, of that particular moment.
Okay.
And I say she doesn't see the full story. That's why we don't see the full story. Because they say it's not like a full flashback. It's more like in the library where you've got this intrusion.
I mean, the only thing I had the second time round as some kind of justification was that, that Jacunta had basically spiked their drinks.
Yeah.
And then maybe that gives her the unreliable narrator, puts her on the wonk, and maybe that misremembers things.
Well, the thing is, the difference. Most of the time, she's going to bed, and the bed is her DeLorean, and you're going back in time. However, slowly but surely, things start to bleed through when she's not putting the keys in the engine and starting up the DeLorean. And it happens subtly at first, but it starts to come to a head first in the library, but then when they're in the club and she starts seeing the ghosts, and it sort of escalates from there to the really big bleed through, if you pardon the pun, with the bedroom with Jack's murder.
Yeah. So who?
And she thinks Sandy died then, because in a way Sandy did die then.
So then it becomes the Obi-Wan excuse. What I said was true from a certain point of view. It's like, I mean, I do get it, and like I say, I don't take anything away from it. And the second time round, I squared that circle by just saying the drugs, the heightened attention, everything going on, threw her for a loop, and she just, she misread the action. And I was fine with that once I'd done that. But the first time round, it did feel a bit like, really, you've thrown us 2 red herrings, and you've ignored one. You've wiped the other one out on the front of a taxi, and now you're going to say, "Oh, actually, she's an unreliable narrator." That to me was kind of like that moment of kind of, no, you want to have your cake and eat it. You want to have your twists and not have someone work it out. And that was the only point I was in that position. The second time round, like I say, I squared it off in a different way from you guys, but yeah, I was happier with it. But let's just follow this through to the end then. So when it does go Get Out, when it goes into Get Out territory of, oh, I've drugged your tea, I've drugged your tea, I'm going to kill your boyfriend. How were you that whole finale? Did it satisfy you? Because the thing I kind of wondered towards the end was where was our sympathies lying? Were our sympathies supposed to lie with the souls of the punters who were still trapped in that room, in eternal damnation, effectively? Sandy, who is obviously damaged goods because of the whole thing, the whole horrible experience she's gone through since the 60s.
Yeah.
Or Eloise, who's had to experience the whole bloody thing because, there's a scene with the ghosts going, "Save us," sort of thing. And my brain immediately went to like that Doctor Who episode with Under the Lake with Peter Capaldi, with all the ghosts with no eyes talking, whispering. And I'm thinking, okay, so our sympathies are now with the punters?
No.
And then you suddenly think, well, actually, no, they're with Sandy.
I was totally with.
But then Sandy's a murderer and is trying to kill Eloise.
But this is the thing with. I mean, it's as they say, once you kill once, it's easier to kill again.
Oh,
right?
I know.
Okay, so look at how many people she offed. Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The thing is, you got to look at what this is a product of. You see the abuse she goes through, right? These men are not there to do her any favors. They're there to get what they want, and they'll get it by making her. Look at how they make her feel afterwards, right? Like that bloke who comes out of the bathroom and don't pretend you're asleep, right? This is a product. Her lashing out like that is a product of all these interactions that she's had to go through. So that's it. It for me didn't really have much sympathy for the spirits.
No,
that were trapped there. You can see by the way they portrayed anyway. They weren't exactly the nicest looking sort of visages, shall we say? Right. I think it's the true sort of ugliness of these individuals portrayed right there. Right. There's no outer shell or anything. Their souls are laid bare, as it were, and look at the state of them. Okay. What they did to her was, something's going to break in the end. That's it. I'm not saying that murder's right, but I can see
justified.
I can see where this has come from, where why she did what she did.
There's a chain of events here, and it's very it's not black and white, good guys, bad guys. It's far more fucked up. I mean, for me, kind of the difficult aspect of this movie is how those men act. because it nails something you don't see very often. And that is something that bullies do it, but it's also common to all kinds of predators and abusers. They have this notion that if they've had a good time, everybody else did. You know what I mean? And they can actually just completely blank out and have literally for the lack of empathy.
Yeah.
That their actions are actually hurting and distressing somebody else if they're enjoying themselves. I mean, I've not it personally, but I'm sure you know someone who has at some point met their school bully, and the school bully's going, "Oh, mate, how are you doing? We used to have such a laugh." He's going, "No, you made my life hell. Yeah, exchange phone numbers. I'll come around and fucking firebomb your house later." You know what I mean? But that. You see it in say from school bullies to serious horrendous serial killers have that kind of no, we're just having a laugh. Everyone enjoyed themselves. A complete no conception. But at the same time, it is kind of this film asks the question: did they deserve to die? I mean, me and Teresa talked about it after watching it because it's interesting. The ghosts, when they first appear, have no mouths. And it's as they sort of gain power to try and speak, and they're still just trying to use
Eloise,
use Ellie, to get their own ends and do it by bullying.
It's true, actually. Yeah, they're no more redeemed by getting her to save them. They still feel they're entitled to be saved.
Yeah,
but. And they stalk her, and basically, you know what I mean. They don't try and get in contact in a friendly way and say, "Can you help us? We're trapped." They're actually, they're menacing and looming up, and again that exploitative power dynamic. And so you think, fuck them.
Yeah.
But what? Well, shall we say when we were discussing it last night, we were saying, well, yeah, okay, they're nasty, sociopathic. Borderline sociopaths, a lot of these people, and not nice people. Maybe you shouldn't take your law into your own hands and stab them up. But where the injustice was, we felt was kind of, well, what about their families? We just don't know where Dad went.
Well, that's
you know what I mean, and that's kind of that's where my sympathy sort of lie in with the dead is not so much with them, but with the fact that their love. Their families and friends have no idea where they've gone, and that's unresolved. Yeah,
I mean, I was going to say because that was the one interesting little clue that the second time round I spotted straight away. Second time round straight away. What's that kind of saying? But it's wow, yeah, you watched it twice and you figured something out the second time round. Like you fucking Sherlock Holmes, you. No, I mean, No, it was when she's in the library, and she's going through she's looking for Sandy being murdered. She keeps and she's looking in the Good Street, area, people disappearing, and it's all the guys who are all dead, all the ghosts. She keeps coming through them, all of them, and she's going through them and going flick, 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 flick. And you're supposed to be sort of kind of dismissing it, going, "Oh yeah, it's just another. This is how many people die in Soho over a course of a year, and all this kind of thing." But it's not. It's actually saying every one of those guys who went to see Sandy is fucking dead.
Yeah,
and missing. And it's just like, oh, hang on. Those ghosts aren't just ghosts. Those ghosts are her victims.
It's very cleverly done because you can recognize the ghosts in the photos in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And it's also the way it plays out. She's looking at murdered girl, and you just start seeing missing man headlines creeping in, and then sort of more come to the forefront before the ghosts actually fully appear.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And as she's looking at them, they all start to appear behind her. And that was kind of like, it's been bloody telling you all along. Fuck. Yeah. So okay then. I think we're kind of getting to the timeout. I'm just looking at how long we've got left. Is there any particular bits in the film you guys want to bring up? Because I've only got one last bit, but I'll let you guys go. With Darren, have you got anything you want to bring up? Yeah.
I've met people like Chikanta before. Like,
I think
I know.
Yeah.
I know people like Chikanta before.
Yes.
They're the sort of people, when you're exchanging stories, come out with a phrase, "Oh, but the best one is," and it's like, what do you mean the best one is? What, you mean the best one out of mine and your stories? Are you judging mine to be inferior because, well, your stories are fucking better? Because she does that thing of, where Ellie is, she talks about how her mum committed suicide, and it's so almost brave. Like a red flag. It's like, oh yeah, my uncle also committed suicide. I mean, we all know people who are like that. Yeah, my uncle committed suicide, but he did it on fire with fireworks in his pocket.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, security guard I worked with, they had a name for people like that.
Yeah.
He called them blacker cat merchants. Because if you had a black cat, they'd have one that was blacker.
Yeah.
More black.
Yeah. None more black than that black cat.
Spinal tap disease. Not more black. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely. Yeah, we one of my jobs used to have someone very much like that. But I won't turn into a it's your one's good but my one's better kind of situation, Dal. Yep.
There you go. Yeah, don't go down it. Yep, no, steer clear.
Yeah, your one's good but better than that.
I must admit that in my experience, this fair tale has exceeded yours by a factor of 50.
Yes, your ideas were very good. However, allow me to inform you of precisely how shit yours are and how good
this
mine
is. How this shit is done. Yeah.
Stand back, clear the room, and allow me to show you how it's done, bitch. Yeah. Jim, any last thoughts, sir?
One thing I was very pleased about that John didn't turn out to be an arsehole. Because watching it was kind of like, especially the first time, I was thinking, oh, it's all going wrong, and he's gonna be a twat as well, isn't he?
Yes.
And he actually wasn't.
Yeah.
And that was nice. He did vaguely remind me of somebody, and I couldn't put my finger on it, but Teresa nailed it last night. Now, this may ruin the film for you. I warn you now if I tell you.
Oh, okay. Go on.
She said, "Is it me, or does he remind you a bit of Dwayne Dibley?"
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. Dwayne Dibley.
Oh, my God. Right. Okay. Now, that's
good night, folks.
Yeah.
There is no film next week because we are not coming back now.
We are finished.
That is it. We are done.
Yeah. That is complete. And
well done, Jim. Well done.
No. Yeah. He was well-meaning and understanding to the point of kind of slightly incredulity. It's like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know any friend at all in the history of the world ever who, when you turn around and say to them, yeah, I'm seeing people from the past and I've been seeing murders, and then what you do is when you're actually in a situation, social, sexual, whatever, and you suddenly start freaking out that they're going to go, that's normal. It's fine. I'll see you in school tomorrow. We can talk about it. It's like, no. God bless you. You're a little bit too trusting there, my friend. But, someone, there has to be the best friend. But I did at one point just like, you having a laugh. he would have been on his toes and down the street going, she's nuts. But that's just me.
I've listened to your stories and I've taken all the accounts and put them together, added them up, and I've come to the conclusion you're fucking mad.
You're off your nut. So yeah, he did kind of stretch the old incredulity a bit, old Dwayne Dibley, but it's it's too late. It's done. It's done. The die's cast. Thanks, Teresa.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers for that. Yeah, so cool. The I was going to say something else, but my brain's completely been thrown by Dwayne Ghibley, so I think we'll leave it there. So, thank you very much for that. If anybody else has any thoughts, anything they want to contribute, any feedback on Last Night at Soho or any other episodes we've already done, maybe someone's seen Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny after listening to us and thinking, you know what, maybe those guys are wrong, and then going, oh no, maybe they're right. If anything, you want to send in any feedback, send it in via email to feedback@blackdogpodcast.com. Alternatively, jump on the old Facebook group and go to facebook.com/groups/the Black Dog Podcast, and we'll read them out next week. Right. I think we'll leave it there for Last Night in Soho. I think it's a bloody good film, and if the only thing I can come up with is I felt slightly cheated for being dim as a bulb, for not picking out the whole thing at the end, then I think it's a successful film, especially after shit like Space Mutiny.
Oh,
I mean,
God, yeah.
You know, it's quite a different class. So, before we get to Pimp's Corner and say goodnight to everyone, I think it's time to find out what film we're going to be doing next week. And Jim, you were supposed to do last week's movie, but you know, as our on-air production meeting went, you weren't here. And so this is why we were doing Last Night in Soho. So now that you are here, sir, what will we be doing next week?
Well, then, a little bit of a story to this film, I saw recently. I'd heard about a movie called Dashcam that played Fright Fest, and it was by the director who made Host, and has just made a Stephen King adaptation, The Boogeyman.
Oh, right.
So Man Come From, little film, done very well. And this was the middle one. I thought, But, you know, I didn't want to find out too much about it, because that's how I roll these days. You know, that sounds, people recommending that? Okay, right. Yep. Pull the shutters down. I don't want to know any more. I'm not watching a trailer. I'm not reading 500 articles and whatever. I'm just going to watch the damn thing.
Yeah.
And so I looked on Amazon Prime. Oh, Dashcam. There it is.
Yeah.
Watched it. I got about 20 minutes in again. I don't think this is the film I heard about. But hang on. No. Weirdly, in 2021, there were 2 films released called Dashcam.
Oh.
One is British and one is American.
Right.
And actually, I've seen both now, and they're both very worthwhile. But the Dashcam, the first one I saw, so it is on Amazon Prime for free from 2012, and it's a psychological thriller, basically involving some Dashcam footage that a news editor gets, and that's all you need to know. But I thought it was a very well done, interesting movie. And I think it'd be a lot of fun to talk about.
Okay, so Dashcam on
Amazon Prime.
Okay, Dashcam, Amazon Prime.
So if you look, you'll see 2. There's one to buy for $5.99. That's the other one. Okay. The free one is one we're doing. Okay,
so Dashcam movie, Amazon Prime. I've got to check it out because I've got to find the blooming... Watch Dashcam 20... Okay, there's the $5.99 one. I'm trying to work it out. Which one? There's 2022.
It's 2021 is the one there.
Right, Dashcam 2021. Okay. Right. Rob Savage.
Nope, that's the wrong one.
That's the wrong one. Oh, okay.
I'll tell you, I will send you a link in the chat.
That's probably a good idea, I think, because there's if I type in Dashcam Amazon, there's lots of things trying to sell me cameras.
Yeah. You have to narrow it down with the Prime Video section, and then you get the 2 Dashcams. One is to buy, that's the wrong one, and then there's the free one, which we're doing.
Okay. Right. Onto Facebook, facebook.com. Let's go into the chat. I love these on-air production meetings.
Quality content.
Yeah. Oh, I got
Most people make you pay extra on Patreon and things like that for this kind of stuff, you know.
Right. So it's a psychological thriller following Jake, a recluse.
Psychological villa.
Yep.
Wow, that's one heck of a holiday in Spain, that isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. This is a very dodgy holiday in Spain. So, yeah, okay. So, got it. It's a psychological thriller following Jake, a reclusive news editor, who inadvertently gets secret.
Leave it there.
Yep, that's it. Cool. Okay, that's cool. So it's not the spooky horror one. It's a different one. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Brilliant. Well, we shall check this out. So, Dashcam 2021 suspense movie available on Amazon Prime. Not the 2022 one. It's a Oh, God, Lord, this is going to get confusing pretty darn quick. Right, I'm going to put the link. I'm going to put the link on the Facebook group as well. So cool. There you go. I shall share that out. So I'll share that to Facebook. Right. So I'm going to ask the question anyway, but I think I know the answer. Darren, have you seen Dashcam?
No. No, I haven't.
No,
I've not seen Dashcam at all. I've seen a few Dashcams in my time, but not this variety as in the movie.
No, that's cool. I haven't either, and you obviously have, Jim. And cool. We shall check it out. Right. That's it. Before we go, let's go over to Pimp's Corner. So, Jim, what is actually happening in the good old world of Hypnogoria?
Well, this week I've just released a reading of a classic old werewolf story called Gabriel Ernest. Mm-hmm. And this weekend I'll be dropping another stupidly long episode looking at the old BBC Two horror double bills.
Oh, yes. Ooh. Lovely. Oh, on the on BBC Two?
Yes.
Yeah. Great stuff. Okay, cool. Well, I'll look forward to that then. And that's over at hypnogoria.com.
It is indeed.
Okay, and just because he's not here, but let's give him a plug anyway, because God bless him, he's probably up a lift shaft somewhere in the middle of Kent at the middle of the night. Elton's doing all of his usual stuff over at rogue2media.com, which is things like flappy paddle, cargo round in circles things with Andy in the Grand Prix podcast. And his live streams and recordings on YouTube of The Long Dark.
Which are very good.
Which are funny. And also, I think he's done a Shonky Lab recently. Oh, there was the Shonky Lab with Darren, where they basically started off by, we're not going to moan about being in theatres, and then promptly moaned about being in theatres. Yeah. Okay, and that can all be found over at Rogue 2 Media. Darren, are you doing anything needs promoting?
No.
No.
I'm not doing absolutely nothing.
I'm doing fuck all. Right,
okay. Fuck all, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, in which case, let's leave it there. As I say, send feedback into the usual channels, and thank you all for listening. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Darren.
No problem.
And we shall see you all next week for Dashcam. Not that one. No, not that one either, but Dashcam. Until then, we'll see you soon. Take care. Tatty bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
He's not here. Gonna do it. Tell her.
Bollocks to it.